Thank you. The first candidate to make an opening statement will be Attorney Chair, then Timothy Trustee, and then Ryan Camp.
Hi, thanks for attending. I'm Ernie Shear. I've been on the village board for 20 years, and I still fit the same, my very first blue blazer that I bought. Majors, men's, and boys wear on Main Street. And I still have most of my hair. All right, so it's one of the only times I wear a jacket, tie. But as a resident of the village since 1976, proud graduate of East Aurora High School, 20 years experience as village trustee, my approach remains rooted in 3 core principles. Listening to all residents, responding to their needs. You call me, I get back to you. I get an answer back, I fix the problem. Fiscal responsibility with taxpayer money. I work hard at our budget meetings. We had one in February, keep our taxes down. Keep East Aurora an affordable place. Common sense decision making, paired with long-term vision for the village. I've been blessed to raise my 4 children in the village of East Aurora. I now have 3 grandchildren. You'll see me tooling around with them. I'm committed to maintaining unique character that makes East Aurora great. Finding solutions, saving houses from demolition, the Price House being one. I love serving the people of East Aurora. I love my village. And I'd be honored to continue to serve and continue my work as trustee, saving historic buildings from demolition, keeping taxes low, serving our residents, answering your questions. And I'll leave you with this question. Is East Aurora a better place than it was 20 years ago when I first took my seat on the village board?
There you go, Ryan, or Tim.
All right, thank you to the League of Women Voters, and thank you all for coming. My name is Timothy Bochanowski. So I work for a nonprofit here in East Aurora. I create and manage and review a $3.1 million budget. I work with fund balance accounting. So I feel like I have the necessary skills to be an effective village trustee. I know when we have our auditors coming, they're consistently impressed with my attention to detail, my documentation. And so one thing that I just love East Aurora so much. Like, I grew up here. Sorry. Getting kind of emotional, mainly because, Bojanowski has been a big name for East Aurora. Like when you're walking down the street in the summers, those are Bojanowski made garbage cans with Bojanowski quotes on it. My grandma was a substitute teacher. She had a chant when she was working, and she was a lovely lady. And I just hope that I can bring that same amount of dedication that they bring. And I just hope that I can also bring transparency and communication that I feel like sometimes seems to be missing. Whether or not it's there, it just feels like it's missing. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. My name is Ryan Camp. Thank you to the League and to all of you for coming out. I don't have the long history here in town that Ernie and Tim do, certainly not Tim, who's the third generation Bojanowski. But my wife and I did move here almost 6 years ago. We knew this was the perfect place to raise our children. My wife grew up in Hamburg. I grew up downstate in New Jersey, just across the state line. But over the past 6 years, I have really personally come to love this place. I always knew I would. We drove through here all the time between Hamburg and New Jersey, and I always found it to be very magical and captivating, and it was the community that I knew I wanted to look at first when we came to move out here. Since then, I've been involved with the baseball and softball board here in town. I've grown the T-ball program tremendously. We are trying to now get, we have over 100 kids in T-ball this year. 5 years ago it was 35. 40% of those are girls, so we're hoping to get multiple softball teams at every age group. Things have really been growing. And that success and that connection with, again, a great partnership between the town and the village too, down at Community Park, has really inspired me to try to take another step and give more back to the community. And something came up in the first panel that I think kind of crystallizes why I raised my hand a few weeks ago to try to do this. And it's the idea of the village scope, or the scope of the village. And I think that's one area in which I would disagree with the current board. I know I'm new at this. This is the first time I'm running for office, but I'm not naive. the village board does not control every decision that happens in town, but it has a role to play in each of those decisions. And I think the scope of the village should be what's best for the village and what our neighbors say they need. So I am running for the board to have a seat, to have a voice in those conversations, to make sure that whether it's a crosswalk on a state road, whether it's funding for a library that the village doesn't directly own, the village is there to represent neighbors' voices and concerns, and ideally plan for a future for them and for their children.
How will you communicate with the people who don't have social media?
This is a good one. Because despite my youth, I hate Facebook. I quit it a decade ago. It's what my wife will tell you. It's every time we walk into a business and like their menus on Facebook, I go a little angry. I don't like walled gardens like that. I actually work in software during the day. That's what we would call that. Whenever you create a barrier between the people you're trying to help and the people who are trying to use your product, you limit the people who can use it. Sometimes there are good reasons to use Facebook. Oftentimes I think there are probably better ways. Beyond social media though, I think that plays a role in communication, and I think we have to do, remember we all talked about the Swiss cheese metaphor during COVID, you should have multiple layers of protection. I think it's the same deal with communication. We should be on social media, we should be texting, we should think about an email newsletter from the village board. We should have flyers, we do the Tuesday folder at Parkdale, we should run ads at the Aurora Theater. There any which way we can get in front of people, we should do it. I think Luke put it well when he said we should err on the side of transparency and on communicating more often and over communicating. I'm open to any avenue that lets us do that.
So I agree with a lot of things that Ryan said. One thing, so the newsletter I find would be very helpful. So for Parkdale, you get a text, you get an email, you can decide whether you not want to read it, but you're going to get it, and you're going to get the information that's there, and you'll be able to know what's going on. And that's part of like the transparency that we need, and the communication that we just need. And mailers is a good thing. Even holding more office hours, or just like an effective way to say on the website, this is when we'll be in here, you're welcome to come. The website needs updating too. I mean, I constantly am trying to figure out like, okay, how do I get to this page? And so like, that would be one positive step in the right direction right off the bat. So yeah, I think we could definitely do better.
All right, so let's start with mailers. Mailers are expensive. Postage is extremely expensive. To send out a mailer, you're talking a couple $1,000 to all the village residents. The advertiser is always a venue. It's available at the library. Coming in, speaking to us in the office, we have a desk. The ladies work in the office are very friendly, very accommodating. If a member of the public who does not use computers, does not have a cell phone, does not use social media, that's an option. If you want to know what's going on, we always communicate to people if there's a major project happening within their neighborhood. I believe it's 1,000 feet. Everyone in that neighborhood gets notified, gets a letter as to what's happening. Someone's putting in a new garage or whatever it happens to be. We also can communicate using water bills. There's a line on the water bill. If we need to send out a message to someone, a resident about something, it can be added to the water bill. We have Code Red, which is a system we use to let people know of situations that arise. We did update the website, I believe 2 years ago. But you know, things can always be improved upon. You know, there's no unfinished business in a village government. There's always something that we can do better and improve upon.
Your next question is, how do you plan to bring affordable housing to East Aurora? By affordability, do you mean subsidized only by the local government, or do you include county, state, and federal government funding?
Okay, so affordable housing, it's tough. East Aurora is tough in terms of rents. My youngest daughter, unfortunately, works full-time, can't afford an apartment in East Aurora. It's not feasible for her. may have to move to another town in order to afford an apartment. We have a property in Girard. At the end of Girard, we're doing a feasibility study. When we put in, if we put in senior housing or income adjusted housing, that would be an option to allow people to stay here, to age in place. I'm 61 years old. 10 years, 20 years from now, I'll be one of those people looking for affordable, low-cost housing. Hopefully, when we do come up with a plan for Girard, it will include ample green space. About a third of the property is designated wetlands, which will be a nice amenity for us to have. But affordability, it's just, we live in a high-rent village. It's expensive. And rents are, and that's an issue all over today. But I think, providing people with apartments, housing that is rent adjusted, like the Belmont apartments on Maple, would be a move in the right direction.
There you go, Tim.
So affordable housing is definitely important. I know when I bought my house, we went like way ridiculously over asking for a small house. But I mean, ultimately it was worth it. And one thing that I would say is really important is the community input, because you really need all the data that you can have to make that adequate decision of what you actually want to do with the place. And that's what I'm going to leave it at.
Yeah, thanks. I agree with much of what Ernie and Tim said. Very complex, very important issue. We haven't bought a house in the last 6 years, almost bought it 7 years ago, and in that amount of time went up $30,000. Same house, hit the market again. So the costs are rising very, very rapidly, and I'm sure that's been even more shocking for those of you who own for longer than that. Same way, I believe the second half of the question, in addition to whether it's affordable, was would you bear that onus entirely on the village, or would you look for outside funding? It's an impossible problem to solve in the village alone. Just as a matter of scale, a matter of cost of things, it would be impossible to provide the amount of affordable housing we need without looking for outside funding. I think that is generally true if we're being responsible with our neighbors' money for most of the problems we face. I think much of our issues need to be sought out outside these walls. There is funding that is available, and there is expertise that is available too. We are a special community, but communities like ours are facing similar problems across the country, and we can learn from them too. So I think, yes, extremely important, yes, complex, and certainly will require partnership and creativity outside of the lines of the village.
We have so many families with young children and youth thriving here. These families and people of all ages use the parks, businesses, and want to walk and bike. Can you speak about these needs for the importance of this? I'm handing over to Tim.
Yeah, it's ultimately really important, because as long as we're upkeeping and taking care of our parks and making the crosswalks and walkable and making it bikeable, then we're going to keep the families here. We're going to keep them from going somewhere else. So if you have a nice walkable place, they're going to walk into town more, into the village more, and actually maybe stop at the co-op on their way to Hamlin or stop somewhere else. And so I would say that it is very essential to do what we can. And again, I'm gonna point to data and community input. If that's what the people want, if that's what the data shows, then that's what we gotta do. Whether you like it or for your personal opinion.
You're gonna go to Ernie.
Yeah, it's not easy being a bicyclist or a walker in the village of East Aurora. That's not a surprise to anyone. It's especially on Main Street, Holy Hand, Pine Street, Maple, trying to keep it safe. We have a safety committee in the village of East Aurora. We're continuously looking at ways to address safety concerns, adding crosswalks. We've actually studied, 2019, we studied turning Pine Street into one-way street, and it was decided by this safety committee it wasn't feasible because of concerns about emergency vehicles accessing the street, getting down that street. We, studied other areas. For example, made in Hamlin, trying to get a crosswalk there with a light, working with the state to try to install a light there to make that crossing safer, to eliminate some of the jaywalking that takes place there. Again, the state didn't come through for us. We could try that again. We need to try to get a crosswalk there. It makes sense. But making sure, keeping things safe for kids. E-bike safety, we passed new regulations regarding e-bike safety, especially among young kids who are just out of control with their e-bikes. And you've seen them zipping down Gerard, doing wheelies, acting in an unsafe manner. We're extending sidewalks north on Maple Street, part of the Maple Street reconstruction. We're adding sidewalks to South Street, trying to get a three-way stop to South. So we're doing everything we can to try to make it as safe as possible. But it's a job. It's not easy. To get these things done, there's a lot of, especially when you're dealing with the county or you're dealing with the state, to try to get them to work with us and agree to what we want. Sometimes you're shouting into the wind, but we do our best. Hopefully we can get a stop sign on Pine Street, get that taken care of, slow those cars down coming down Pine Street so it's no longer a raceway.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, well said, Ernie. And I think I've said a lot during this campaign. If you got all of us in a room and talked about this, I think there's a lot that we would agree on. There's probably very little that we wouldn't agree on. Walkability and bikeability has come up from all five of us tonight, three of us, and you compete as well. I think it is an absolute necessity that we continue to invest in it. I told you I work in software now. My degree is actually in economic development and public finance. And a core principle of economic development is not that you think about the businesses that you want to come there. It's doing the harder work of creating a place where people want to live and want to raise families. And if you succeed in doing that, businesses, the commerce, the real estate prices will all follow, right? And that's really what we're talking about. I think we all know that. Those of you who've lived here much longer than I have know how important that sense of community and the feel of the village is. I do think, though, and Ernie's right to point out how hard the board has tried to accomplish a lot of those things. It's not easy. We have to keep going. We have to keep trying to do those things. We have to keep making it safe. My oldest is 10. I was talking to friends whose 10-year-old is ready to roam their neighborhood, and I wouldn't do that yet. She's moving to the middle school next year and doesn't have to cross many streets, but it's enough streets early in the morning that it has me nervous for sure. I don't want parents thinking like that. I don't want to think like that. I would just like to see us continue to try to make improvements so that we have the village that I think we all have the vision for.
The village plants trees every year, but tends to put them in the ground and forget about them. What would you do differently to better care for our village trees?
Oh, I'm a tree guy. I love trees. And I was really upset about what happened to the trees with the butchery. Over the past 4 years, we've planted 203 trees in the village. We continue to plant trees. We will be planting large caliber trees to replace those trees taken down in Hamlin Park this summer. What we need to do to protect the trees, number one, we have these deer, we have bucks that run around, and I have a red maple in front of my house where the bark was ripped off by the buck rub, when they rub their antlers on the sapling. We need to make sure that we protect the trees and the trunk. The DPW started to do that. We also need to put gator bags, those are the big green bags, kind of ugly looking bags that we fill with water so that the water is continuously dripping into the root ball of the tree. We need to educate people, encourage people to get out and water. If you come down Fillmore Avenue where I live, last summer, you'll see a hose coming out across the sidewalk out to that red maple, watering that tree. But I think a lot of people forget about it. They think the tree is nature and it's going to take care of itself. But we have to do some things to try to encourage the tree to grow. I have a beautiful American elm tree in front of my house. My son and I planted it. I was looking at it yesterday, and it's about 12 inches around now. It's big, beautiful. It's a little tiny little guy. When we planted him, I nurtured that tree. I took good care of it. I love it. It's a member of my family. It's beautiful. It's about 35 feet tall. But I had to take care of it. I had to do the things I needed to do to make sure that that tree got a good start in life and continues to live and we'll live for another 100 years, so.
Thank you.
So the trees here are really important, and I know that there's a lot of people out there who will do whatever they can to make sure that they stay alive. And I know that the Cornell Cooperative Extension of Erie County has a Master Gardener program, and they have volunteers that need volunteer hours. Like, that would be a great opportunity for the village to collaborate with them. We have the Western New York Land Conservancy. Let's see if we can get some grants and then also partner with other nonprofits that could help with those trees. And yeah, let's go for them.
When we moved into a property, we had more trees than we have now. It was a windy day like today where we lost a lead off of one of the sickly looking trees next to the sidewalk. That lead took out a tulip tree took out a play set. Thankfully it was overnight and nobody was outside, but came downstairs in the morning to what could be foreseen as an issue because the same thing happened across the street. And then 4 years later, the same thing happened across Parkdale. We live in the corner of Boardwalk and Parkdale. That is all to say, we know that the condition of the trees is in trouble. We need to be thinking about how we can preserve the ones we have, how we can get out in front of planting new ones, because many of these trees have reached the end of their lives. But the reason I bring up that story is that it was a few years after that tree came down before I knew that we could get help from the village to plant others. I didn't know that program existed. It's wonderful. I'm glad that it does. I think this is another area where we can harness the energy of our neighbors here in town. We all have wonderful friends who I think are all willing to put into the community if they know where to direct their energy. So I think this is an opportunity for us to be a sort of nexus point of communication, right? The village board, in my mind, should be the people that either have the answers or can tell you where to get the answers. And that is a great opportunity for us to be able to tell our neighbors, we have a solution for you if you're looking for more trees. If you want to be part of planting the next generation of tree cover for the village, we can help you do that. And here is a care and maintenance plan for you when you get it. Once you get it in, you got to do these things a couple times a week. And if you do that, you should have a vibrant tree in a little while.
What will village government do to support local businesses and keep Main Street vibrant?
One thing that I think would be very important is to have a small business task force, because since I've been running, or I announced, I've talked to some businesses, and they have had a hell of a time, excuse my language, trying to get functional. And a lot of them, like one of them has said, like, if I were to do this again, I wouldn't do East Aurora. And that's disheartening. So we need to get these businesses together and say, what are the common problems of what you've been facing and how can we help? And then work together and then try to alleviate that. If it's something where it's constantly the same variance issue is coming over and over again, well, we as a board, maybe we can change that slightly so that that doesn't come up anymore and cause that issue. So that's what I would say is, let's get a small business task force, let's work together with them, and let's see what we can do to make sure that any business going forward is going to have the right tools and success.
Agree with everything Tim said. I think this is another area where we need to provide people with the information, right? Mayor Pete mentioned how much of an influx we've had come into the town. It's wonderful. It's great. We should be encouraging businesses to come in. I think what is needed is, especially for our small business owners or entrepreneurs who are starting out, more of an idea of what they're in for. We should be helping to guide them as they express their interest in being here in the community. We need to tell them what they're in for. I think much of the conversation we've had is also around preserving the historic character in the village, and that's another opportunity to do that. If you're interested in opening a business and it happens to be in a historic building, there are some options for you. This is what preservation looks like. If you choose to pursue that, here's how we can support you in doing that. Here's what it would mean for you on an ongoing basis. Again, being the nexus of communication for people who come in. It's not just for the neighbors here in the village, it's for those who want to spend time in the village too. I think we have a lot of expertise, both on the current board and generally in the community, and we should be leveraging that to make sure that people who want to be a part of this community can benefit from it.
All right, Thanks, Ryan. So, yeah, we have a very vibrant business community. I mean, there aren't a lot of vacancies. I mean, there are no vacancies in the shopping plaza as of right now. Main Street's essentially full. I drive down Main Street, there's people walking up and down the sidewalks on a Saturday. Very vibrant, very busy. Now, if you're coming to East Aurora, you want to start a business, probably the best place to start would be, Chamber of Commerce. Introduce yourself, get to know them. They will help you. And come down to Village Hall. Again, up to the window, we are there to help you. If you have questions, we will help you. We will guide you as to what you need to be successful in business. That's why we're here. Call the mayor, talk to the village administrator. We're here to help you. So, we've done things over the years. It's not the same Main Street or business district I grew up in. We had a Griggs and Ball where Taste is now. There was a grain elevator. It smelled really bad. There were rats running around. There was an old rundown shopping plaza, Bell's, and it was quality. It was grungy. There was, our business district has never looked better. And we've brought additional things into our community to make it better for businesses. The Taste of East Aurora was my idea. I brought it in originally as a fundraiser for the Boys and Girls Club. And then the Chamber of Commerce took it over, they got the ball rolling, and it's a super popular event. It brings people, we're doing things all the time to bring people into the community, to have them come here, spend their money, enjoy themselves, okay? Brewski at Knox Park, that was another idea I had, to bring people to East Aurora, come in and shop, enjoy Knox Park, enjoy the beer at 42 North, it sponsors it. We have the problem of having a very successful, it's not a problem, very successful business community. But I recommend anybody wants to come in and start a business, visit the office.
If elected, how will you ensure the residents can easily reach their trustees when they have concerns or ideas? What specific steps will you take to make village government more accessible?
It is a core function of village government that they are available to people. There's no question about that. I work from home. I'm in East Aurora 7 days a week. I almost never leave. Sometimes I don't put shoes on for days at a time. My wife will make fun of me, put on slippers to walk the kids to school, a couple blocks and come back. So I'm always around, and I'm looking forward to spending more time in the village, in Village Hall if elected. The three of us and Luke have committed to holding office hours regularly. We will publicize those and make us available for you to come in. In addition, I think there are multiple opportunities for us to open up the ability to communicate with each other. During my day job, I actually work with a company that has 5,000 employees. We're spread out all over the United States, and about half of those are based in either Islamabad or Lahore, Pakistan. And I was on multiple video calls today with myself and a home office, Austin, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, San Francisco, California, and 2 cities in Islamabad. That is a much harder problem to bridge than it is to get to talk to the Board of Trustees and a couple neighbors in a 2.5 square mile town, 2.5 square mile village, sorry, area. This is a solvable problem. There are multiple modes of communication we should try. I think one of the biggest ones, though, is that we need to make people aware of when we're reachable and how to reach us. The village board has an email address that's published on their website, which is great and effective, and a one-click button on the website to get to people. That's one method of communication. I think we need to look into others where people can reach you individually from whatever device they're on, which is usually on their person, to be able to make sure that they can find an answer to a question that they have.
All right, so I get a lot of phone calls from people. My landline number is on the village website. You can call me anytime you want. People call me all the time. Someone called me on East Fillmore, their new garbage tow, when it was really cold out, like 10 degrees, cracked in half. Got him a new tow that day. Somebody else, when there was an issue with the trees being trimmed on Center Street, we had a little bit of a situation, called me, upset. They're trimming the trees, they're doing some damage. I went over, I took care of it. The pickleball situation in Hamlin Park, I was not afraid to go over there. People called me, hey, get over here and listen to this. I went over there and listened to it. I'm available. Call me. I will get back to you. ASAP. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy solving problems for people. I like answering people's questions. That's why I'm in this position. I'm a public servant. I'm here to serve the public. You may contact me anytime. My phone number is 716-655-2806. Call me when you need me. I'm available.
All right.
So this is some place where I think that a newsletter would really be helpful in terms of like constantly getting out that information to you, whether it's an email newsletter or a text newsletter, where you end up having to, you can't help but memorize and know when exactly you can go to the village hall and see exactly who you want to see, that you know exactly who you're going to be able to talk to and all that jazz. And just like what both Ryan and Ernie said, I wholeheartedly agree. You'll see my number up there. You'll be able to contact me anytime. And I will, if I don't know the answer, I will for sure do whatever I can to find out that answer for you.
Historic preservation is extremely important to the village. Trustees seem to flounder when issues arise. When will this become the major issue locally as it is and should be? Right?
Well, I don't flounder. There are two properties on Main Street, the early Price House and the farmhouse next door to it, that were, windows were open, unheated. It was owned by Pasquale's Restaurant across the street. They were letting it go. I walked past there. I was on the way to a concert with my wife. I said, you know, that's kind of odd because the lights been off in there. Oh, and look, the windows are open. Weather's coming in. That's a beautiful house. And the previous Paul Vendrowski used it as an office. I knew it had been remodeled, nothing wrong with it. Asked some questions, got involved, went to the newspaper, had that home and the other home saying they were going to turn that into a parking lot. Can you imagine that section as a parking lot? I've been on the news. I've been fighting for years now for the warehouse, the storehouse at the Roycroft. And then the bungalow house, which is now bungled, it's completely fallen apart. It may not be saved, where Alexis Fortier, the artist, lived and did a lot of his work, and his primary home in the front on Walnut, which is now moldering. And I'm in the process of trying to get something done about the Globe Hotel, which was one of my favorite places to go. Loved it. And it, again, I've spoken to people who've been in there who are developers who wanted to redevelop it. There's a leak in the roof. There's mold in there. We need to do something quickly to save that property because it's in the heart of our village. It's as important as Diddler's. It's as important, almost as important as the Roycroft, I would say. It's a very important building with a lot of memories for a lot of people. And we can't let that building go. So yeah, I fight for historic preservation. Once you lose these houses, you've lost a lot. You know, you've lost your memory. You've lost your historic memory of the community.
Thank you.
Historic preservation is very important to me. So growing up, I worked at the Roycroft and the movie theater. Those are two icons of East Aurora, as well as the many others that we have here. And so on the board, I would do whatever it takes to make sure that we can keep these beautiful places that we've had that are so important to our history. And so one thing that I would say, so I was at the last 3 board meetings, and every one of those meetings, from the first one when Stonegate was first brought up to the last one when they decided to table it. So yes, I understand that you can't make a decision without the information that you need. Well, then don't just sit around. Go to Stonegate and knock on those doors and say, hey, the village has had this come up. What do you guys want to do about it? You need to put your input in. Let's put their feet to the fire so that we know what they want. And that's what I would say. It's like, if there's going to be a place where let's make this a historic landmark, then yes, let's do whatever we can. Get that community input, and if we're not going to get that community input, let's make sure that we try as hard as we can before we make that determination and not just kick a can down the road.
Well said, both of you. As someone who's still getting to know and love East Aurora, I think I would disagree with the premise of the question that the village doesn't care about history. I mean, I don't have all of the history of the conversations you've had, the HPC has had with the board, but I can tell you with a fresh set of eyes, the history of East Aurora is front and center. It's paramount as you come into the village, and I think it's very much a part of the story that East Aurora is telling to the region and to the world. So I don't doubt that everyone here cares about that. I don't doubt that the board and the mayor care about that. I do think it will be a core part of a new and updated comprehensive plan that will guide development of East Aurora into the future. There is no doubt in my mind that everyone here shares that goal, that we don't lose what has made East Aurora special for a very long time as we continue to make it special for the future.
The village has been saving in reserve funds for major equipment purchases, such as fire trucks, to avoid the fees and interest associated with bonding. Would you continue this policy? And this goes to Tim first.
Yes, I would say I would continue that policy, but I would also then do as much as we can to get grant funding. It's like, obviously we don't want to raise the taxes. So what other option is there to get that funding? Well, there's either fees or you either go after grants. And just go as hard as you can, throw everything to the wall and see what sticks. I mean, obviously make sure that you're writing very well while you're throwing them. But yeah, go after them no matter what.
Right.
Yep, totally agree. It is not a favorable environment to borrow, just like it is in your own lives. Interest rates are high. That means high rates for municipalities as well. I think the board has done an admirable job at keeping the budget fiscally responsible and staying within the property tax cap. And I think they're doing a nice job, like they did in this past budget, committing the appropriate amount of money to the general fund as a rainy day fund. I think we don't need to earmark those funds. We can continue to stock them away for surprises that will come up. I sound like I'm talking about the 106-year-old house that we live in. It's the same principle, right? There will be surprises that come up. There will be opportunities that come up. It is the responsibility of the village government to make sure that there are funds to meet those needs, whether they are updates to the municipal water supply and local village water system, which we know will be coming at some point, or if it is fun opportunities like having money on hand to be able to purchase things that come up at Girard, as Fisher Price potentially continues to shrink its footprint in East Aurora, or what have you. Again, I think the current administration has done a really nice job putting aside the right amount of money into the general fund and not earmarking those for particular projects without knowing what the future will bring.
Thank you for the kind words, Tim and Ryan. We have a capital committee chaired by Kristen Cameron, extremely intelligent lady who plan out any major capital expenditures 6 years out. We plan way in advance for the ladder truck purchase, the dump truck purchase. We continue to do that just to minimize taxpayer impact. Okay, these are major, road reconstruction, infrastructure reconstruction. All of that we plan out well in advance. When we have our budget meeting, we had one on February 7th, and by the way, no one from the public ever goes to the budget meetings. We had the advertiser, we had Sean there, but we go line by line by line, and we cut and we slice and we dice and we watch every penny like a household budget. We do the same thing with large capital purchases. How can we do this with minimal impact to the taxpayers? We've had 5 straight years of under 2% village tax increases. That's tough to do. We've done it. Fiscally responsible. As far as grants go, a lot of grants we don't qualify for in the village of East Aurora because of our demographics. We make too much money. We try. We can't put the time in to write a grant. It's very time consuming to write a grant when we know we're not gonna get the grant because we don't qualify for with regards to the incomes that we have. It's unfortunate. And we have gotten grants. The village has received grants, but it's tough to do in the village because of our the demographics.
This will be our last question before closing statements. The town has been recognized as a bronze level climate smart community, but the village has not taken similar measures. Is it important? Is this important, and would you pursue the village receiving a similar status? Would you support joining forces with the town's climate smart community task force?
This issue is extremely important to me. I am an environmentalist. I believe very strongly in making sure we are preserving what we have for future generations. I've already told you about my 3 kids. My wife and I actually went back to cloth diapers. I don't know if some of you remember putting your own kids in that, but we did that with all 3 of our children. And local governments and local communities are where you can really make a difference. I remember reading I think it was 2 years ago, time's a flat circle, Ashtabula County, Ohio. Luke mentioned a number of communities that have done composting. Ashtabula County did a totally opt-in, we're just gonna give you a compost bin and pick it up for you. And basically immediately, it was within about 6 to 9 months, you could see the improvement in the air quality from space. What happens is when you take those organic materials out of landfills, they further break down more than they would. It reduces the amount of methane in the environment, and in doing so, you're able to bring down greenhouse gases locally and globally. There are little things you can do like that on the local and regional level that can make a material difference in the country. So I think it's our responsibility to pursue those and to try to do those where there are opportunities for us. And I hear Ernie's frustration about our inability to secure grants. We are a very fortunate community. There's no doubt that those grants are often earmarked for and better intended for communities that have fewer resources than we do. The environment is one of those areas where those grants are not normally as earmarked, because this is a shared problem that we have across the entire income spectrum. So I think that's a real opportunity for us to invest in those dollars, to potentially remove some of that spending from our budget and then reuse the dollars that we've allocated for some of those services to other services that we need in the community, thereby creating more space and more fiscal responsibility for our neighbors.
No.
All right, so when I first started on the village board, I was instrumental in getting solar panels installed at the DPW to provide electricity. But we got a grant for that. So we could get electricity supplied to the DPW buildings. When we constructed the fire hall is LEED certified, silver LEED certified. So we, for energy savings, etc. I was behind, and then Alvin Cade, who was on the board a while ago, we both worked with the owner of McCullough Coffee to try to set up some of you might remember this, a composting program in the village of East Aurora. And we had a facility set up on Blakely Road out in the town that was going to receive compostable materials. And we had a gentleman that was hired to be the guy who did the composting, ran the equipment. It fell apart. The neighbors resisted. The neighbors were complaining about the trucks coming in. We had it set up so we could have a pickup area at the farmers market. So we've been doing things to try to help the environment all along. We also told the town, because at one time they were using Roundup to spray around the cemetery headstones and Roundup around the park, around the swing sets and around the bleachers. We told them to cease the use of Roundup as a way of keeping the weeds down. Get the weed whacker out. Okay, we don't want that in Hamlin Park. But that was actually a thing. So we are environmentally conscious, and we do things, and I particularly have done things to try to ensure that we respect the environment and do things right. I'm a big-time composter. I love it. And just ask my wife, I talk about composting all the time. It drives her crazy. She's taken a test often about, throwing out compostables, and here we go. All right.
Yes, hands down, let's do what we can to get that bronze star. Because with that, not only are you going to be able to get other elevated grants, but you'll get free stuff with it. Well, free, but non-village taxes paid stuff. which is pretty cool. And obviously, everyone loves saving some money and not having to have to put your taxes into something. So yes, let's hands down, let's do what we can to get that certification.
Before we hear the closing statements, I wish to thank you all for demonstrating your civic concern by attending this event. Thank you especially Ellen Newmar for your invaluable help in organizing tonight's event, and I want to thank the candidates and the audience for the respect shown throughout this evening. This is the legal notice regarding the election. The next general election, village election in the village of East Aurora, New York, will be held Wednesday, March 18, 2026 from noon to 9 p.m. to elect one mayoral candidate and 3 village trustees for a term of 4 years. The one polling place in the village of East Aurora will be upstairs meeting room at the Aurora Municipal Building at 575 Oakwood Avenue, East Aurora, New York. The closing statements are in the reverse order of the opening statements. We begin with Ron.
Thank you, Tim, appreciate it. Thank you all again for coming. This job, like every job I've had and every job I've hired for, I learned the thing to hire for, the mentality to bring into it from my dad, who said you should approach everything with enthusiasm and curiosity. If you hire people who are enthusiastic and curious, you'll do pretty well. So that's what I'm hoping to bring to this role. A lot of enthusiasm for the village, a lot of enthusiasm for all of you and my fellow neighbors and residents here, and a lot of curiosity. I have a lot to learn about being in elected office, about the village of East Aurora, about the history of the village of the town and the HPC. I learned tonight that I have Ernie to thank for my favorite day of the year, which is Brewski. And I'm wondering if I can learn who to talk to about getting more tickets available, because I've got sold out this year. But thank you for that.
I always giggle when we say that word.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It truly, I've found some converts. We'll talk about it. I've increased your influence over Brewski. But I come at this with a lot of humility. I know that there's a lot to learn here. I have a lot of respect for the difficult job that public service is, both that the mayor and the board are currently undertaking, and all of the partners we will have in the town, county, and state as well. So I thank you for coming out. I appreciate all of the enthusiasm and questions that you had and the curiosity you brought to tonight, and I look forward to the opportunity to serve you more over the next 4 years.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you to the League of Women Voters. As you can see, I'm passionate about East Aurora. I almost cried to all of you in my opening statement. So you know that you're going to have my full dedication and my full heart, because I love this place. And so yeah, I just want to say thank you again.
All right, so yeah, I've enjoyed this position. I really enjoy serving the community. You know, we've made Hamlin Park a much nicer place. We have a Hamlin Park committee. We meet every month, almost every month. In the winter, we meet every couple of months. But we've made a lot of improvements to the park. The old basketball courts, now hard court, new bathrooms, thanks to the DPW and their skill set. You know, ADA compliant walkways for using grant money. You know, the playground is looking better. We now have a playground committee raising money to build out the playground. Playgrounds are expensive. $700,000 for the average playground. The one that you saw on social media that someone put up, you know, why can't we have this playground? That's a $2 million playground. That's in South Davis Elementary School, and the school district I teach. $2 million for that playground. We can't afford that. But we can make our playground better. We can make our park more attractive, and we have been. We've been working hard. And the playground and the committee members and the Hamlin Park Committee, we're working hard doing that. But anyhow, I just want to thank the League of Women Voters for having us out tonight and allowing us to talk. And you know, I'm glad it's over. I've had a lot of water tonight. But I appreciate everybody coming out and putting up with me, and you know, so and my bladder, older bladder. So I appreciate it.